116 metres and Sam Cassiano with 108 metres and 3 offloads. For the losing Huddersfield, it was Luke Yates with 46 tackles, of which 10 were marker tackles, and Innes Senior with 113 metres.
Mark W did get in touch late on this one. He said, disappointed to waste an opportunity to close the gap on second under such close circumstances, but much more worried about the injury to Russell. Normally I roll my eyes when Watson points out ref calls, but that tackle on Farge was so laughably offside. I'll give him a pass this week. Great to see Sam Hewitt carry on his good form. Shall we... What are we going to talk about in terms of this game? Are we really going to talk about the action from the highlights, or are we going to talk about the after the game chat?
Well, interestingly, I mean, this has come about after the match, but do you see Sam Tompkins got a caution for touching a match official?
No.
Yeah. So I'd seen about it somebody had tweeted about it, and then when I was watching the highlights, I actually saw it happen. It's when they're celebrating one of the tries, the one that was scored down the wing, and they all jump up, and I don't know whether someone caught the touch judge or backed into the touch judge or something. And Tompkins literally reaches out, just touches the touch judge on the shoulder and says, "Are you all right?" And that's what he's being cautioned for touching a match official. Absolutely laughable.
Yeah. Did any of the Leeds players get a caution then? Because one of them backed into the referee when the referee stood behind him. It was totally inadvertent, didn't know he was there. But when I think it was Bentley celebrating his try.
Yeah, no, I don't think they did. But
doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I was just totally baffled because there was no confrontation or anything. It really was just "Oh, are you okay?"
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought, as we've not got a lot to talk about, I'd just throw that in there.
My comments on the highlights were Dean Faray's offload for the Romano try. That was one of the class plays of the weekend. But really, I guess match action-wise, Leroy Cudjoe got a grade B dangerous contract charge as well. 1 match penalty notice for him, which leads an already thin outside backs division for Huddersfield in a bit more bother for their game against Warrington next week. But really, let's talk about the off the field. Let's talk about the talk after the game. Do you want to read it out? Because I feel like I've done a lot of the news reading today.
Yeah. So Catalans coach Steve McNamara accused Huddersfield of disrespecting his club by claiming French teams bring nothing to the game. McNamara, speaking after his side gained a last-minute 13-12 victory over the Giants in Perpignan, was angered by comments allegedly made by Huddersfield in talks with IMG. McNamara said, "It was a real gritty performance against a team that I think don't give us any respect at all. There is talk this week of Huddersfield saying French teams give nothing to the games in talk with IMG, and that French teams should not be in the Super League competition, which is an absolute disgrace. What the Catalans have brought to this competition in 16-17 seasons is on a par with what some of those clubs have brought in 100 years. It's a terrible attitude towards our game, and one aspect of disrespect their club has shown us over a number of times recently, their opinion and attitude towards expansion and French teams in the competition. I just think the disrespect shown to us by Huddersfield in particular is not what the game needs. People talk about the game being together, but it's bullshit. It's about every man for himself. I hope IMG get hold of this and look at it from a really broad perspective and do what is right for this game. So we aren't an M62 corridor in a game in 100 years' time, or that there isn't a game, and don't listen to small-minded people that have their own self-interest at heart."
This is a bit of a bubble along, isn't it, from Huddersfield earlier in the season. Ian Watson making a few snide and out of hand, in my opinion, comments about Catalans getting to that game late because of serious weather disruption. But Mark W got in touch. He said, "Based on what I know about Huddersfield's attitude to expansion and Gauch's victim complex, I seriously doubt McNamara's comments paint a fair picture of what was said in the meeting. But regardless, the fallout is a grim reminder of how tin pot this sport can be. Coaches dropped dropping unprompted rants based on rumours, fans kicking off in comment sections, and of course Degsy challenging strangers to fights. It's just so embarrassing, is what Mark said. And yeah, it is embarrassing, isn't it, Sarah? I'm not sure it's right for McNamara to be airing dirty laundry like this. There probably is, like I say, there was a build-up from that crosswords earlier in the season between the two sides, and I think, maybe there's a carryover with that when they've heard more things that have come out of Huddersfield that is had an emotional reaction to or whatever. But I'm not sure it's right to air dirty laundry like he has done. Equally, though, Fulis from Huddersfield didn't deny it or step back from the reported comments in any way whatsoever at all. So I do believe he said them. Maybe not in the same way that they've been relayed back at Catalan's HQ, but I do believe he said something along those lines. And then Derek Beaumont, he just turned it all into just another level of absolute embarrassing nonsense, offering to fight fans. And he hasn't gone back and deleted the tweets.
No.
And it wasn't just one tweet. He offered to give the guy £5,000 to let him punch him in the face.
Yeah. I mean, I think the whole thing, in some ways, this shows why the game is tin pot, because coaches shouldn't be getting involved with speaking about things like this. McNamara shouldn't be coming out and making the comments like that, should he?
It's not helpful.
No, and it's not the coach's responsibility. If you're going to start saying something, it needs to be, I don't know, to me it needs to be an off-the-field person that's making the statements about these things. Let your coach do your talking about your team and about clubs and off-the-field things. You've got a CEO, you've got a chairman, you've got whatever.
Yeah.
That's their role. Although it does amuse me, the thing about Huddersfield saying these things in talks with IMG, and then he hopes that IMG listens to what has been said. Well, you'd kind of hope if they were in a meeting, they might do.
I mean, I get where you're coming from about the off-the-field people should be kind of talking about this stuff, but then Derek Beaumont get involved, and I certainly don't think he should be talking about it the way he did.
I'm not saying you should be making airing your laundry on Twitter either. There's ways and means.
I think what it kind of boiled down to in terms of the argument about bringing value to the sport, or whether they do or they don't, Beaumont got to the point of talking about it in terms of how the French sides don't do anything that benefits our main broadcast partner and our main title sponsor. It's in Sky and Betfred, because he's saying they don't sell Sky dishes. Well, actually, they probably do contribute towards it when people want to watch their team play in France.
Yeah.
And the Betfred thing, yeah, fair enough. But the main issue for me there isn't that Catalans and Toulouse have done anything wrong. It's that the sport hasn't done anything to derive revenue from companies that do get something out of a presence in France. You let these teams into the competition, they're in there through merit, that League fucking aren't, and they're in there through merit, and it shouldn't be just Catalans and Toulouse's job to go and secure a television deal in Sky. It should be Super League's job. Super League Europe, let's not forget. It's not Super League UK, it's not UK Rugby League, it's Super League Europe. It should be their job to secure a commercial deal with broadcasters, with sponsors that maximise the footprint of the game. But what Derek seems to want to do is retract the footprint of the game just to the north of England, which is its heartland, but so is the south of France. Don't cut off one heartland just to try and benefit lower level clubs in another heartland. Well, it doesn't make sense to me about how that's commercially value added work. Let's get... Sorry, go on.
The issue is Derek Beaumont wants Lee in Super League, and then I think he'd be quite happy to shut the door once he had got Lee there. And Derek Beaumont's only bothered about what Derek Beaumont's bothered about.
Yeah, and his whole UK Rugby League angle was shown up when I got no response to my tweet asking about, does that mean he thinks the funding that goes to clubs like Leigh, Featherstone and Hunslet should actually go to clubs like Newcastle, London and West Wales. So yeah.
I think, like, as people know, I'm not a fan of the game in France being part of our league. However, the powers that be have decided, as you say, that it's Super League Europe, and therefore, the powers that be, whether that be the 12 club chairman, they've got to actually be pulling in the same direction, and they've got to be working towards the same thing, and looking at should we be looking to try and attract a French sponsor for the Super League as well.
Exactly. How small mind tin pot is it that Beaumont's just thinking about satisfying two existing companies that support the game? Despite the current structure they support the game, they're not saying we're walking away from the game because there's two French sides. I've not heard anything like that from Sky or Betfred. And apparently, though, what happens to just those two companies is apparently the only commercial partners we can ever fucking secure, and about the importance of away ticket sales overrides everything else. Derek needs to think bigger. The sport needs to think bigger. IMG are a global company that we brought in as a partner to this sport. I would imagine they're trying to think bigger, but whilst recognising where the heartlands of our game are. But what I would question as well, because it's all about commercial value that these people apparently don't add in France. Well, what commercial value does any club in our competition add? If we're really being honest, maybe 4 clubs. The 4 clubs that average around about 10,000 plus fans that we've got. The 4. That's it. 4 of them. The next best attended clubs, Catalan's the 6th best attended club. So the 4 clubs that are maybe the biggest clubs, are they the only ones that add value? Well, guess what? Those clubs aren't making money every year. Those clubs aren't reaming in tons and tons of commercial value from themselves. So does really 500 Wigan fans going away to a match enhance the commercial value of the sport more than having a geographic spread that includes, something that other leagues in our country, that people playing from our country don't include? And that is a talking point. It's got a commercial value in it. I don't know, but certainly what I do know is, because it's a community value in it of our game that everyone talks about being our strength, not our commercial value. No one's talking about how great Hull FC are as a commercial prospect. They talk about how great it is the work they do in the community. It's not. It's like, where's his mind at with this added commercial value stuff? I don't know, but arguing between ourselves isn't going to help, and certainly offering to fight fans doesn't enhance our commercial value, does it?
It's just another buzz phrase. I mean, I'm not even sure it is a buzz phrase, but it's just another ridiculous phrase that we can throw around and pretend it means something.
Yeah, where's the analysis to actually back it all up?
It's the same with so many of these phrases. What
if we want to talk about added commercial value, it needs to be, the sport needs to work together in its bargaining position with commercial partners, not try and cast aside potential markets. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Look, the fact that we could talk about this for hours, I'll move on. Huddersfield Giants winger Jermaine McGilvery is likely to miss the rest of the season with a knee injury. That's a real shame for him. Obviously, he'd ruled himself out of the World Cup, so it doesn't affect that. But shame for Jerry, your mate Jerry.
Yeah, my mate.
It means... Sorry, go on.
No, I wasn't saying any more.
It means Louis Senior has been recalled from his loan spell at Hull KR early, so Huddersfield obviously have deemed that necessary to cover those injuries. What else have we got? Oh yeah. Oh God, Sarah.
Yeah.
The best kept secret in rugby league.
I know.
Huddersfield Giants will sign ex-St Helens 3-quarter Kevin Niguama from Sydney Roosters on a 2-year deal from 2023. This genuinely, what? When they talked about this on Thursday on Sky, what?
Yeah.
Did you see the tweet that Huddersfield sent out?
Yeah.
So people who haven't seen it need to go onto the Huddersfield Giants Twitter feed they probably put it on Instagram as well, where I don't know what the clip's from, but it's some politician-y looking guy, I guess, going around like being congratulated by a number of people and then sort of being smug with other people. But they put loads of